Hi everyone, Mature Simmer here. So you can see we've got a little bit of data gathering to do today. So aside from continuing to go ahead and sell whatever silage got made, I need to go ahead and soil sample the 3 fields. What I haven't been able to determine is the frequency of when this is actually needed. So my understanding prior to this had been soil sampling basically took place on a 3-year cycle. Similar to precision farming, how did I get 2 soil samples taken? I didn't, oh, actually maybe it just, I didn't look up until I hit the button. So now it is 2. I just thought before I hit the button I had gone ahead and looked, and I'm like, wait a minute. So I know, for example, lime lasts 3 harvests. So, and I was led to believe in everything I had seen and or read as well that soil sampling was every 3 years. So there seemed to be a commonality of 3, but that was it. If you recall, I think the last time I did soil sampling, I was thinking I might make it all the way until we left before I needed to do that again. Now, field 36 is in fact still not needing to be sampled. However, that may simply be because it's going to be due next harvest or something. I don't know. So what I've done is I've making an actual note of when I've done these fields, so that if and when they do come up again, I determine what the situation is. I don't think it's going to change the fact of whether or not it makes sense to continue to do what I'm doing, which is lease this, or if it's suddenly going to be like, well, I should own it, because even if it's every year, which might be what it's panning out to be, it's still less expensive to lease this once a year, because the soil samples are going to be the same as far as paying for them. So however many I have, I'm going to have to pay for them. I always kind of miss that little tiny bit, but it doesn't ultimately matter. It's close enough that it gives me full credit, and that little tiny dot of the field doesn't really matter, but obviously I'm trying to be as efficient as possible. So yeah, that's the new learning I'm trying to do, is how often do I need to do this? Because I really feel like, at best, I did this at the break between year 4 and year 5. This is the winter of year 6, so we're going to be ending in 2 months, and we'll be rolling to year 7 within this generation. So I may be getting 2 years, which wouldn't be terrible, but it would obviously be different than 3 years. I may be getting a year, which would be more terrible, because it's just something that I was hoping I didn't need to do, and obviously it's proving out that I do, because otherwise this affects my environmental score. Because if you recall, once again, soil sampling accounts for 15 points out of the 100 points, so obviously that's significant, and if I don't do it at all, there's not a in between, I don't think. I think it just drops to 0. So that would pull everything down a full 15 points, because that would be the average. I mean, this year, or this harvest, it might stay a little bit different because I've got field 36 that's okay. Thinking I can do it all. Yeah, I've got a little bit sticking out, but I think it's close enough. It usually does a little bit of overflow. There we go. So that one did work. because I have in the past ended up with a little dot in the center of the field too, and it cost me $150 to basically fix that, to take another sample and pull that information. So the other piece, and all I'm going to include here in this update, because there's really nothing more that is happening, is where I'm at. You can see the dollar amount, so obviously you can see where I'm at that way. I think I'm going to be able to get this here. I just don't want to take two samples. There we go. So you can see I'm over 900,000, which is a big milestone, just because it's the first time in generational farming I've been over that. So that's really an exciting thing, and you know, a big number. But I still have, I think I'm very close to 1 million liters left to sell. So I should be able to make a substantial amount more. I think it's become pretty clear. I didn't want to kind of jump the gun last time and indicate where I thought I was going to end up, but I'm starting to feel now much more comfortable that yes, I'm going to cross that $1 million threshold before I finish with my silage sales for this year, which is obviously pretty substantial. So next year we're going to have a full set of harvests again. So I would expect a very similar year, and once again, part of why I'm continuing to do this is to help any little bit I can with some additional bonuses and so forth. Because while I think quantity-wise I'm substantially higher than anyone I've seen, I could obviously have a little bit of ground loss simply by the amount that things are sold for. And this is a bigger one that I can work with. The price fluctuations, as I've said, as long as I'm selling over average, which I usually am, really don't matter. Alright, so soil samples, say that 3 times fast, are sent to the lab. I'm just gonna get I'm gonna get myself back over where my trailer is, because the next thing I'm gonna be working on is continuing to sell more silage tomorrow. Because the other thing that could be, if this is a time thing with soil sampling, obviously we're just before midnight, and those soil samples will be returned still in December. You know, I'm probably going to need to measure it a few times to know, is it harvest or is it time? Now, I don't think it's time. I don't think it's time. I'm trying to say in the sense of I was going to say in the sense of the word, but there is no sense. Is it time, because I've had fields, for example, where I don't work them for a few years, and another field has needed to be sampled, and that other one has not. Now, the other thing that is confusing is I thought I had soil sampled all of these at once at one point to kind of get them in sync, but they're clearly not coming up that way. So that's also the confusing part. But that's all I have is the update so far. My soil samples will come back. I'm going to, then return this. But I just wanted to give you a quick update and get you up to speed on how things are going in generational farming, and I'll see you next time.